Welcome back to another episode of the On Deck Circle podcast. I am one of your hosts, Nick Zanabone. You can find me at nzanabone93 on Twitter. The first week of the MLB season is in the books. All of my teams are awful. I'm going to overreact. I'm going to trade everybody. Jason, come talk me off the ledge, please. Jason.
If it's one thing, you got to relax.
I can't. Alex Kurloff has one hit. And I have him literally everywhere.
Hey, he's healthy. You're already a win there. He's healthy.
But
So
you know who else is healthy? Byron Buxton. Destroying the ball.
absolutely, already picking up. Yeah, when he's healthy, man, he's
one of the biggest if he's healthy.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's gonna be like the Penny Hardaway, but like of baseball.
Of baseball. Yeah. I think I saw on Twitter the other day, someone was like, I think Paul Spore made a comment. This has been a decade in the making, and it literally has been. He was drafted in 2012, so here we are 10 years later, and he's finally, hopefully,
1-2 in that draft, and now they're on the same team.
Yeah, look at that. That's
fun. Dave's gonna be mad that we're lollygagging, and then I made a basketball reference. So Dave, come
in. Nick, I tuned in for the Bachelor talk.
All right, I do have one quick thing. Bachelor in Paradise is starting soon, which I think you will actually enjoy.
I highly doubt that.
No, they put them all on a beach. They're all super horned up, and they're just trying to yeah. I think you'd be in on it.
I think I'm gonna pass.
They're all so beautiful, men, women alike.
I think I'm gonna. You know what I'd actually rather talk about?
Baseball.
I'd rather talk about the San Diego Padres and Minnesota Twins trade that had, I don't know if I'd say it surprised us, but it kind of did.
Paddock on The Bachelor. He's pretty handsome, right?
I don't know. I guess. You are the resident Bachelor expert.
Yeah. I put him on.
But San Diego Padres shipped out Chris Paddock and Emilio Pagan for closer Taylor Rogers and throw in Brent Rooker. So, Jason, I'd like to hear what you think of Chris Paddock now joining the Twins, team that needed pitching. So I get it.
Yeah, and this is one of those last minute deals that kind of just came across. I think on either the eve of opening night or the morning of. It's one of those. In my eyes, I'm like, I still have a little bit of hope for Paddock, I guess, just because we saw what he did in 2019, and hopefully he's more one of those. This is one of those opportunities for him where it's like a change of scenery, maybe getting out of San Diego in that NL West, and then getting into maybe that little bit easier AL Central. Could be a little bit.
Calm down with that.
I know. Hey, those Tigers, man. They're yeah. I'm kind of curious to see what happens here. I know right now it's kind of slotted in as they come out and said it's going to be like a 6 starter the first time through. But I mean, let's face it, he's also competing against guys like Chris Archer. So I'm not really sure, unless he just absolutely shits the bed. I don't foresee him losing to Chris Archer, because let's also face it, Chris Archer probably hurt after his first start. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's funny though, because I say he gets out of the NL West and his first starts against the Dodgers. So good luck to Paddock. Hopefully, he can get some sort of lightning in a bottle here against that first game against the Dodgers.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're part of the show, Nick. Go ahead.
So, I love this for the Padres because now they have their closer figured out. There's no bullshit with Suarez, who got rocked that first game. I think it was the first game. It was one of the first 2 games. Got destroyed. You're not in the KBO anymore. You need to wake up. But at first I was confused on why the Twins even traded Rogers, because I was like, they kind of need a closer. And now I think I just read that someone else I think one of their other closers that we thought was going to be a closer got hurt, but I don't know if that's fully true. Yeah. It was in the 30 Rock chat, but I Taylor, he's going to be better now because he's on the Padres. So I'm all in on Rogers. I don't know if Paddock's gonna pan out in Minnesota, but he's gonna get a chance. So
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense both directions because Padres are loaded with pitching. Now, granted, it has to stay healthy, but they're loaded with pitching, and so Chris Paddock is a luxury, or was a luxury for them. And even though they had a loaded bullpen, I think in San Diego, again, when healthy, what's the one thing that everyone tries to get at the trade deadline? Relief pitching. So, for them to add, Rogers, even if he, ends up becoming, eventually the 8th or even the 7th inning guy, I still think it makes sense because they really gave up nothing as far as they're concerned. You know what I mean? But then as far as the Twins need pitching. And I think that, we know that I think pitching is extraordinarily volatile. And the only thing more volatile than pitching is simply relief pitching. So, getting rid of a closer for a guy who could be a solid 2 or 3, in the game if he can just get back to whatever it was that he had. I don't see the huge downside there necessarily. I mean, yeah, that really hurts their bullpen quite a bit, but I'd rather take a chance on a solid rotational piece than get rid of a mid-tier closer or, then hold on to a mid-tier closer. So I don't know. It'll probably end up working out better for the Padres in reality, but I see what both teams are doing.
yeah,
So let's talk about Stephen Kwan here real quick. Wow. I mean, what a start, to the season. I mean, good Lord, we're 14 at bats in, and he has yet to swing and miss at a baseball. So, extraordinarily crazy small sample size, but that's still like crazy cool, 10 hits and 14 at bats, 4 RBIs. I mean, I don't know. I guess really what the question becomes is, however you want to put it, redraft dynasty. I mean, what do you think of Kwan's value? I mean, it's a couple of games, it's a handful of at bats. It's been all time great, but what are you guys making of it?
this is sustainable, right?
No. No, there's no way he hits over 600, Nick.
All right, fine. He's gonna hit 550.
It's gonna drop well below 600.
So I saw a tweet today. I don't know who said it, but he was on the same team as Nick Madrigal.
Yep.
And he had better count, like better everything, like across the board. And he was like a year younger. So it was amazing to me that this guy, like, I probably heard of him late last year, like just like coming up and all that. But like Madrigal was such like a name for us, like as dynasty players. And this guy who had better stats than him, yet we just didn't. I didn't do my homework on him. But I feel like he just kind of came out of nowhere in the last 9-10 months.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that was also from his, he had a huge breakout in 2021 in the minors. He slashed 328, 407, 527. And then there was obviously rumblings in the offseason of the Guardians needing outfield help and maybe relying on making the team out of spring training. And here we are. He did. And it's kind of proven why he can. And yeah, you're right. He's like just similar to Madrigal. He barely has any power, but he's got great contact rate. I think as we've discussed, he still hasn't swung and missed through 22 plate appearances. Yeah, and so far this season, he's got no power. I mean, he's got a 1,700 OPS, but no home runs. So take it for what you want. I mean, he's obviously got value. His dynasty value is through the roof right now. I mean, I'd be looking to sell, I think. I don't know if he's ever going to get any bigger value than right now. And yeah, like Nick said, we didn't really know about him because he never was that top prospect. I don't know. I think he was drafted, I think, 10 or 12 rounds after his teammate Nick Madrigal. So there was not a lot of pedigree there. So there's a reason why we never heard of him until this off season.
I do want to throw a name out. Yerman Mercedes. We were having the same conversation with him last year, except he was hitting home runs.
I think Kwan is long term better.
Oh, 1,000
than Mercedes was.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean it's similar.
There's always one or two of these.
Yeah, I mean, like the Tigers have like maybe the prime example, and maybe it's just a hometown thing, so maybe it's more than I think it is. But I mean, Chris Shelton had some absolutely ridiculous Aprils
I don't know
and
who
then
that is.
he would do absolutely nothing after the fact. Like he'd be leading the league in home runs after April. He have like 12 home runs in April, and then he'd finish the year with like 14. But I don't know. So quick question, and we don't need to get too into it. I just want an answer from you guys. I'm going to ask you each a separate question. Nick, Dynasty, would you rather have Kwan or Yelich?
I would rather have Quan to sell him than. Does that make sense? So like, I'd rather Quan on my roster so then I could trade Quan because I think he can get me more than Yelich can right now.
Okay. What about you, Jason? And we're going to go either Kwan or Bellinger.
Oh man, these are tough sells because right now, Kwan's got that really safe floor. Contact's always been his bread and butter. So it's like, do you want that floor of like a good average, or do you want that upside of Bellinger, who still can't hit, but if he ever does figure it out, can return to his MVP form and get those home runs. But I think just my love for upside, I'm going to go with Bellinger still.
Yeah. So fun fact, I would go Yelich and I would go Bellinger, and it's a combination of what Jason had said as far as chasing the upside. And it's a combination of I just don't think that Stephen Kwan is a thing. I mean, I don't think he's bad, but I think he's a fourth outfielder. And I'm not talking in fantasy. I'm talking in real life. I think that'll end up being his ceiling as a fourth outfielder. But hey, man, it's fun. I'm enjoying watching him. I will continue to do so until he plays Detroit. But yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, let's see what happens when the pitchers start to adjust to his to him and see if he can make those adjustments that are necessary.
Right. So another interesting start is a little lesser known guy for most people, and that's Spencer Strider out in Atlanta. So he's a guy that I was pretty heavily in on. I don't know, middle of last year or so. I had gotten him in a few places. I actually turned around and sold him towards the end of the year at what I just thought was like a sell high. And again, everything we talk about right now is super early. But he's looked amazing so far in 2022. 5 1/3 innings and 8 strikeouts. Walked 3 guys, so little bit of work to do there. But I mean, he's looked really good coming out of that bullpen. And I think that's not exactly the piece that we already got a fan. Rachel says Strider.
Our resident Braves fan.
Oh, well, so fun fact. Also a Clemson fan, and guess where Spencer Strider went to college?
Clemson.
So she's got a huge lady boner for Spencer Strider. For
got a 6 stash.
Reasons. Yeah, well, I think Nick should try to grow a 6 stash.
Ooh, yeah.
I can't. It just gets really creepy looking.
But I mean, it'll be interesting. Like, I think that on another team, I think Spencer Strider would be a little more interesting because if you could put him in your rotation, I think, you could see some really electric stuff. But, barring an injury, which I'm sure the Braves do not want, this is kind of what you're going to see from Strider. And I mean, anytime you're getting a guy that's producing, I wouldn't complain about it. But he is off to an interesting start. And, redraft, you can probably forget about him right now. I don't know what you would pick him up for. But in Dynasty, depending on the depth of your league, especially, if he's still sitting on waivers, I think you probably have a guy that you could drop for him. And, I don't know. What do you guys think, Spencer Strider?
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy that, he was just drafted in 2020 and he's a 4th rounder. So it's not like he's got some, high, draft capital, but he flew through the minors last year, starting in, high A and all the way up, made his debut at the end of last season in 2021. He's got that top end velocity. And, you mentioned they got those 8 strikeouts in 5 innings, and that's including 5 of those strikeouts were in 6 of the batter's face against his his appearance against Cincinnati. So, I think honestly, it obviously is like a baseball fan. I want to see him in that rotation. I don't want to see, him just wasting away in the Atlanta Braves bullpen. So I'd love to see him And I know that, the Braves want to keep giving Kyle Wright starts, and he did kind of look impressive in his first start, but I would love to see Strider in there over Kyle Wright for sure.
Yeah, we'll see. It'll be interesting. Like I said, I think it takes an injury probably for something to happen, but
Yep.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's a lot of innings for 2 appearances too, Five,
Yeah, that's true.
5 and
It kind of
change.
reminds me of Whitlock. I mean, like the story's different, but like just a weapon out of the bullpen that they could easily start.
Mm-hmm. And he'll also be on an innings cap again this year. So that's one of the reasons why he's coming out of the pen right now too. They want to limit those innings.
Yeah, I mean that's almost similar to like a Josh Hader at the very, very beginning of his career too. I mean, I'm not comparing Spencer Strider to Josh Hader. However, I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibilities by any stretch. I mean, that kind of stuff is becoming more and more common these days, especially for your more analytical teams who are looking for like high leverage outs. If you can throw Spencer Strider out there for 2 innings, and who cares if it's the 5th and 6th if he's facing the top of the order. I mean, that could actually be what makes or breaks the game, not whoever closes. So I don't know. It's interesting. You can't have too many weapons, like Jason said. Speaking of weapons, Alex Manoah, looking dominant again. I mean, the walks were a little concerning. 6 innings, 4 walks in that time frame, but I mean, he looked dominant out there. He struck out 7 guys, only allowed 1 hit. You'd like to see the walks obviously get curtailed. I don't know how massive of a concern I'm going to leave that whenever everything else looked the way that it did. But Manoah's a guy that came up last year and really exceeded expectations. Didn't have any real walk issues last year, so I that's why I say I'm not super worried about just one start, but probably something just to keep an eye on. You just never know. But I mean, I think Manoah's value is at an all-time high. He gave you no reason to think that last year was a fluke. I'm one that's in the camp of I fully believe in Alek Manoah. But what are you guys thinking?
I mean, he had to face that bum ass Yankee lineup. So,
yeah, they are pretty shitty.
They're really bad. They didn't beat the Red Sox 2 out of 3
Hey,
games.
Nick, real quick,
Right.
what's the Yankees starting shortstop? What's his name?
I don't even know. Is it Torres?
Come on.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, IKF.
Yeah, there you go. I was hoping you'd try to say the name. So
yeah,
I was just trying to trick you into saying it.
Nope,
Damn it.
I did a good job. I fucking love Alek Manoah though.
He's
gonna be so good for so long just because he's so big. Like
until he gets hurt.
Gas. He's gonna be durable, and he's gonna be a bulldog for the next like 10 years, probably even 12. If we're being honest.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway from that start, obviously, was the domination, but also the changeup. He threw it almost double what the usage was in 2021. I think he threw it like 18 or 19% yesterday, and had a 57% whiff rate on a changeup. So if he can continue to use that changeup as a nice out pitch, I mean that'll give him 3 plus pitch mix. So I mean and he actually threw all 4 of his pitches with a really good mix yesterday. So if he can keep doing that mix and use that changeup as another out pitch, man, again, just dominant. And yeah, the walks were a little concerning. I think he had like 4 walks and 4 out of 6 batters walked or something like that. But yeah, he looked great, man.
Yeah, so that changeup, he threw it 15 times. So basically 17%. I mean, again, we're talking one
Right, one start, yeah.
But I mean, didn't give up a hit on it. Again, very small sample size, I get, but his XBA for that pitch and that start was 0.009. So basically not even anything close to an expectation.
I just wonder if that was like a game plan for just the Yankees. I want to see how going forward if that's what pitch is going to rely on all the time, or if that was just like, hey, let's go in there and the Yankees struggle against changeups. I'm not sure. I'd like to see him continue using that changeup for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, it'll be interesting because I mean, you nailed it. As I look at it, like his 4-seam percentage was just slightly down, slider percentage slightly down, sinker percentage slightly down, but then the changeups are up. So everything else he kind of just backed off very slightly and increased that changeup. So yeah, I mean, if you throw in a a solid 4-pitch mix as opposed to, 3. Obviously, that is a huge difference. And if he can continue to throw that changeup effectively, that's going to be interesting. And it looks like 7-mile-an-hour difference between the two, so that's perfect.
Yeah.
And it's basically a 7-mile difference as well between the slider too. So he's literally got 3 different speeds he's throwing at. He's throwing the fastball 94, throwing the changeup in there at 87, and then the slider is coming at 81. So not only is he changing, angles, he's changing speeds, and I mean that's what I think really makes people hard to hit. Like, not a guy who can throw 102, or it's a guy who can pitch. And when you can change speeds, change eye levels and stuff like that, and then you can command stuff, that's what makes people impossible to hit, because you kind of just have to guess. And if you don't guess right, you're dead. Even if you guess right, that doesn't mean you're going to hit the damn thing, So,
Yeah. 30% CSW against a dominant Yankees lineup. So
yeah, there you go. That's that number, 30%. That's the number, Jason.
Yep.
So you need to talk to us a little bit here, Jason, because you've been watching, I'm guessing, some Seiya Suzuki more than we have. And this is the guy we've talked about. I think we talked about him quite a bit last week. We were talking about NL Rookie of the Year kind of stuff. But Suzuka is off to a pretty good start, and I think it just makes the most sense to hear your thoughts on him, because you're going to be the most educated of the group with the eyes on that you've had.
Yeah, I mean, what's not to like about this? We worried about what, it's a small sample, but still, we were worried what's that transition going to be like, from the NPB into MLB, and he's not showing any sort of slowing down. I mean, he's got a great eye at the plate, just as good, if not better, than Stephen Kwan. I think he has almost 100% no swinging miss. I think he did have one. I think he got like 95% or something like that. But so again, an advanced eye at the plate. But he has what Kwan lacks, and that's the power. We saw it again today with a double dong day today. Got one against the old teammate Quintana, so that was kind of nice to see. But I saw a stat that Suzuki joins Ohtani as the only Japanese player in MLB history to hit 3 home runs in their first 4 games in the MLB. So not to compare Suzuki to Ohtani, but I think you can kind of see here that he's more than just guy that's going to come out there and swing and miss. He's going to hit the home runs. He's going to make contact. And then there's even times I've seen it where it's like, he had a sac fly the other day where it's like, he saw that, maybe not necessarily go for the home run, just put the ball in play out in the outfield and get that RBI across the plate. So he's kind of showing that advanced baseball IQ, which, I guess someone of his, he's not some young guy anymore. So it's not like, you expect him to not know these things, but it was kind of nice to see. And again, it's a nice surprise, because you always worry, you paid almost $100 million with the posting fee to get this guy. Is it going to be worth it? I know it's a small sample. We don't want to get too crazy here, but it's just good to see that, he doesn't look overmatched. And then he again, and we talked a little pregame about the Brewers pitching. He's not like he faced Quintana all those games. He faced Woodruff, Burns, and Peralta the first 3 games. So, no slouches.
I kind of feel like these, international guys, not like the young prospects, the guys like Suzuki and stuff. I feel like it's very similar to drafting a quarterback in the first round. Like, the hit rate isn't great.
Good point.
You really don't know what you're getting until you get him on the field.
Right.
And I literally just came up with the analogy right now, but I think it's a
good analogy.
very good comparison. Because you get your guys like, Ichiro, and then you get your guys like Fukudome, and you get a little bit in between, but the hit rate isn't super high, but it always comes with hype. I mean, you don't see a lot of international guys that get signed. I mean, obviously there's some, but usually the ones that get signed have some hype. I don't know. That's the way that I relay it. So this goes again here now, the next topic, right into what we had, talked about here with, the call-ups, for debuts. And, the biggest names, in my opinion, were, Julio Rodriguez, Bobby Witt Jr., Spencer Torkelson. And so we've seen a mixture of things from these guys. Like, Julio Rodriguez, I mean, taking a page out of, Kelnick's playbook here with, 1 for 14 to start off with. He does have a stolen base.
Mhm.
So, that's cool, I guess, but he's struggled a little bit. Bobby Witt's been a little bit better. I know he's got 2 hits and 16 at bats. He's got a stolen base, got a couple RBIs, but he had a really clutch hit. So, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that you like see. I mean, we'd rather see him batting better than 125, but Bobby Witt already looks like he absolutely, fits.
Yeah.
And then, Spencer Torkelson, he got his first hit today. I watched it. I would say live, but I mean, it was on TV against, Nick's stupid team.
It was against Rich Hill. That does not count.
Hey, Dick Mountain counts, man.
Yeah.
But Torkelson has very similar to Julio. He struggled, but I've seen just about all of Torkelson's at bats, and he's been fine. Like, I mean, there's a little bit of a difference. Torkelson, I feel like, has been pretty patient at the plate. He's got 3 walks, which I know seems silly, but I think that it's worth pointing out. They've both been striking out a lot. I mean, Bobby Witt has maintained, a little bit better, K rate, but all 3 of these guys are struggling. And I guess kind of, the thing that I would point towards is this is extraordinarily common, right?
Mhm.
Most people don't come up and Juan Soto it. Most people come up and Kelnick it. That's very common. These guys, even though they may have all had great springs, even though they're facing, MLB talent, it's entirely different when you get to the big leagues and you're facing guys that are playing games for absolute real. I think all 3 of these guys are going to be fine. I think that Julio Rodriguez has without question Hall of Fame caliber talent.
Mhm.
I think Bobby Witt Jr. has without question Hall of Fame talent. Spencer Torkelson, not quite there, just because I don't think he has all the same, level of tools across the board that these other guys have. But I mean, that guy's a perennial all-star, bat. So don't panic on any of these guys. I mean, obviously, if you're in Dynasty, you wouldn't even dream of it. But I would still give him some leash in redraft as well. I don't think Witt's going anywhere.
Mhm.
Torkelson, maybe, I guess, just because the Tigers, may or may not compete. I guess. I mean, they're playing well, but I could see them falling off a cliff and maybe sending him down for, a little bit like they did with, Kelnick in Seattle. Julio Rodriguez, I think the Mariners are a team that is looking to compete. I guess if struggles continue, they've got bats in the outfield to replace him with, so I could see him theoretically getting sent down, but I would give these guys some leash because we're talking, less than a handful of games. And yeah, we'd like to see them all batting 400, but this is, I think, what we should expect to have seen. And I haven't seen the bats. I've only seen a couple of bats of Witt. I haven't seen any of J-Rod, but I'm telling you, Torkelson does not look outmatched. He just looks like he's learning. What do you guys have for takeaways?
I haven't seen any of these at bats like live. I've seen, I think, J-Rod's only hit was one that he beat out. It was like an infield single, and he ran like hell down the line. So
Mhm.
that's something that I think would not that, but like his hustle is going to keep him in the lineup. Managers love to see people run out fucking ground balls, and especially beat out ground balls.
It's
And
true.
that type of stuff is things that gets your name written down in the lineup. And I think his upside is so high. He's probably I think out of these 3, the only one I can see being sent down is Torque, which is what you said. But I don't think they'd send Witt down, and I don't think they'd send down Rodriguez either.
Yeah, I think Witt's probably the safest out of them, just because he's had I guess you could say the least struggles, just as far as the plate appearances go, and then he's also made some defensive plays too. I think I saw the other day he basically, the infield was in and he had a rocket to him at third and he threw it home on like a crazy weird play where the ball bounced before the plate and he still got the guy out at home. So he's playing defense too. So I think, and obviously the Royals aren't looking to compete too much right now. So I think Witt's probably the safest. Then Torque, and then I think as much as it pains, I think J-Rod would be, if he is in any sort of risk, that he would be right now. Again, they're not just like us in Dynasty. MLB teams aren't going to start freaking out over, it was like 15 plate appearances or something, 15 at bats. So I'd wait a few weeks, see if you're in redraft to be hitting that panic button on any of these guys, to be honest with you. And like you said, Torque, I think, has that advanced plate approach too, because he has those 3 walks in 5 games, so he's not like he's up there swinging at everything. So he's being patient, looking for his pitch.
No, and he's got some shitty calls too. I mean, and maybe that's a Tigers homer in me, but I've seen 2 strikeouts that he got, a called third strike that, Miguel Cabrera would have got that call. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, it's, it was borderline, sure, but I mean, it was a ball. So, I don't know. One thing I do want to say, Jason, is I think I was as hard on anyone with the Javi Baez signing in Detroit.
Oh, I saw your tweet go out.
And he's actually been
was fantastic.
He's actually been really good. I mean, he very well could have 3 home runs at this point, because he absolutely fucking torched the ball in the second game, I think it was, of the season. And it would have been out of a lot of ballparks, but it wasn't out of Comerica. And then he had that game winner where, I don't know how much you guys seen of it, but he hit a ball and it ended up just grazing the wall before the player got his glove on it and then ended up.
Oh, I did see that.
Yeah, they called him out, but it hit the wall first. So he's, he's 10 inches away from a home run there. He's, so who knows how many ballparks that would have been out of. And then he actually hit a home run too. So he's made a couple nice defensive plays. He's kind of effed up a couple of them as well, but very impressed with his defense at shortstop.
Yeah,
I mean, he's made a couple of plays, you know what I mean? And sometimes guys that have a lot of range can get a little bit of a bad rap for missing plays, because they're getting to a ball that most people wouldn't even get to. And so when they miss it, it's like, he missed that ball. Well, guess what? Willie Castro last year got to that ball. Javi Baez got to it. Yeah, it went off his glove and he missed it, and it looks bad, quote unquote.
Right.
But the reality is most players aren't getting to the ball. So you really do have to keep that in mind, I think, as well. But I'm turning the corner on Javi Baez pretty quick. I love his energy. I've still got my concerns.
Yeah, of course. They're always, and even as a Cub fan, I had those concerns too.
But we'll see how the season goes on. I will just say that so far, I can assuredly say I've been pleasantly surprised with Javi Baez to this point.
Yeah, I'm actually curious to see now the way he started off the season. Maybe getting out of these big markets. He was in Chicago, he was in New York, maybe somewhere like Detroit where it's not quite as big of a market. Maybe the pressure's not as high to him. So I'm definitely curious to see where the season takes him, for sure.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. So, all right, boys. It's been good to have baseball back.
Yes.
I fortunately we didn't have a no-hitter to talk about.
It's still early.
No one's pitching more than 4 innings.
Yeah, unless you're Spencer Strider. maybe we'll see something come next week. But look forward to another week of baseball, and just keeping an eye on some of these things. Like a lot of stuff we talked about will be interesting. We were not going to get an answer on Chris Paddock for a few months. See how that kind of turns out. We'll probably be talking in 2 or 3 weeks about the fall of Stephen Kwan. That'll be interesting. We'll see what Strider does with a few more appearances. We'll see what Manoah looks like, getting a month or 2 into the season. Can he stay healthy? If he stays healthy, I don't think any of us think that he's not going to pitch well. The Suzuki keep it going?
Right.
We'll see. And then what about, the rookies we talked about, J-Rod, Bobby Witt, Torkelson. So one of them is going to catch fire at some point in time. All 3 of them might catch fire. Those are all 3 guys that have legitimate chances to win the AL Rookie of the Year. And it'll be fun to kind of watch them grow a little bit. I'll have the benefit of seeing Torkelson almost every single day. A little harder for us to watch J-Rod because he's out on the West Coast.
Yeah.
I'll get to see a little more Bobby Witt than you guys just because, they're going to play the Tigers so often. But it's a fun time to be a baseball fan. Beginning of the season, all of us still have hope for our teams. So it's interesting. It's interesting. So, all right, boys,
Yep.
I will look forward to talking with you next week, and we'll kind of see what happens and see what we got to talk about then.
See you then,
Absolutely.
boys.
See you, boys.
Peace.